'tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. You are listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. I am Cathy Holmes, and I am so in the Christmas spirit. You know, all the snow that we've had in the recent days and all the trees going up and the lights going around. The best part about all of it for me is Rita Innamorati, Volunteer Nanaimo, and the Christmas Angel program. So we're going to talk about that today. Welcome to the program, long time, fabulous guest. Rita, how are you?
I'm doing great, Cathy. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you know, our listeners cannot see that you and I are in our reds, right? You've got your Christmas hat on with your angel right on the front, and I'm wearing my red jackety kind of clausy kind of thing. It's the time of year when we get to give. And I have to tell you, it's my favorite part of year when we are looking after each other in community. So how about, for those that don't know about the Christmas Angels program, why don't we tell people about it as we get started?
Super, I'd be happy to. First of all, this is our 14th year of
14
doing.
years.
I know, isn't that hard
Wow.
to believe? It's hard to believe I've even been with Volunteer Nanaimo for 17 years, but there you have it.
Holy mackerel, where's the
It's been
time
a long
gone?
time. I know, it seems
Wow.
like just yesterday. I mean, 17 years have passed and I've only aged 2. Anyway,
I had a girl.
just like you,
Yes,
Cathy.
I'll take it.
Yeah, that's right. So we actually started very small. It was just an incidental thing. We started with 4 small families. Last year we did over 1,400 individuals, over 450 households.
Wow.
And that's through COVID. So that was those were 2 challenging years around space and time. This year, believe it or not, it's even worse. It's even worse because, you know, we're coming off of all the COVID funding that people were getting to help them out. We're getting off of just so many things, and it's a struggle. The prices have just jumped so dramatically from last year to this. And I'm not talking like $1 or $2. And I don't know if I should talk about this, but this isn't really for children, so I can say. We were looking at some of the items that we had last year that were big hits with kids. And I'm not talking, you know, PS5s. I'm talking like beading kits and different kinds of craft kits. So I found the beading kit that we had last year. We had about 20 of them that we gave away, and kids, the girls loved them. Which in that tough age of 10 to 12, where it's really hard to find something. And they were $19.99 last year. So I thought, well, I'm going to pick up about 20 of these again because they were really a good buy and
yeah, for
a good
sure.
product.
Yeah.
They were $34.
Oh my goodness, $34
From 1 year to the next.
same kit.
For the same thing. You know, the art kits that were $29.99 are over $39 or $49. It's just been a nightmare, really.
Yeah, I hear
And
you.
I can't imagine being out there, you know, shopping for a family. You know, you put aside a little money each month so that at Christmas you can do something, only to find out that the buying power has shrunk to such a size that, and not just that, I'm talking clothing, shoes, boots, coats, all of it. The prices have just gone crazy,
They really have. And we're noticing the need as well exponentially higher, not only because the prices are where they're at, but there are more families due to rent increases, due to loss of job over the COVID pieces, where suddenly now the you know, the 1 or 2 families or the 450 families last year, you know, we're moving into the 600 range, I am assuming, right? Like that's a lot of families.
It's a lot.
And I think that for people to understand with the Angel Network, the idea behind the Angel Network that you and the team started way back, you know, 14 years ago, was that Volunteer Nanaimo, through a vetted process, would reach out to families and community, and community members could sponsor these families by supporting the family, not just you know, the kids, but also the parents, you know, that it was gifts and in some cases food and all of that too, right?
Really, food is not a part of our program because there
So,
are, you know, we don't want to step on the toes of Loaves and Fishes, who do such an amazing job,
really
Salvation
do.
Army and their
Yeah.
food hampers,
Yeah.
incredible job. And again, you're looking at the cost of those things
Yeah.
has escalated in such a way. We do, if the family asks for food support, we mention it. And many of our angels will, you know,
Yeah.
turkey vouchers or food, or do a turkey dinner, put all the fixings together for a turkey dinner, whatever. They're certainly welcome to do that. The program is really about children getting something they actually asked for Christmas.
Yes.
Something they asked for. And then it became apparent over the years that what the child asked for and what a child needs, you know, we sort of started having to make decisions around that. So
Yeah.
we're letting our angels know, like, these are the needs, these are the wants. So if they want 2 or 3, you know, I'm trying to think of, you know, 3 examples. So, you know, Paw Patrol, Lego, and Minecraft, but they need a winter jacket, they need winter boots, they need certain
Yeah.
items. We
Yeah.
mention that, and it's up to the angel to decide which way they want to go. If they want to do, you know, 1 need, 1 toy, or, you know, 2 needs, like can't send the kid out with a jacket, no boots, or something like that. But as I said, and I see that page after page after page that's coming through again this year. Blankets, slippers, you know, asking for essentials, so much more than toys and gifts and games. And, you know, we're really, really blessed with our donations. I've had angels coming in here, incredible, incredible donations of games and books and, you know, different kinds of things.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really hard to imagine that with all the angels I have, so many of them have had to step back, and which is totally fair. You know, I'm certainly not asking anyone to be in an uncomfortable position,
Yeah.
but where someone might have adopted a family, they're now either shopping from our need list and bringing in some toiletries and a blanket or a couple of games, or they're maybe adopting a senior or one of our vulnerable youth. Our
Yeah.
vulnerable youth went from 99 households last year. I think we're at like 130.
Wow.
That's a
Incredible.
30% increase. That's
Yeah.
a lot in a year to look at. And again, families as well. Seniors really, really went up. And again, the rental market is horrendous. We have seniors that, you know, basically homeless.
Yeah.
Unless you
true.
call a van or your car your home. You know, trying to get into very limited housing spaces,
Yeah.
certainly spaces around subsidized housing. And yeah, it's just really, we've just really seen the increase. A lot of our seniors are just asking for groceries, and it's like, well, kind of not really that program, but okay, you know, because
Yeah,
we
but
want to do something nice. We want to do
and it's
something
also,
nice.
but it's also the point that, you know, those grocery cards, those grocery gift cards very often will carry over a senior for more than just a Christmas meal, right? And I think that we need to be really paying attention to those kinds of issues that are happening right now within community. It's not as it once was. It's not, you know, I think that our community has seen good times and lean times, but the last few years for everybody has been so much more difficult. How do you stay motivated to continue to keep pushing uphill, Rita, with this?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, you and I have known each other a long time, so you know that I live my year to be able to do this program.
know you do. I know it's
I-
like the most important part of the season.
This is the whole part. This is the whole
Yes.
reason that I'm here, is to be able to do this program at this time of year. We do a lot of other things throughout the year, but it's really only as my stepping stone, I guess, to get to this season, because this is really what I want to do since we started.
Yeah.
I have to say, yesterday, someone actually said to me, you look kind of sad, because I was talking about, some of our issues. And I said, I'm not sad. I'm frustrated. And because there's just so much need. And I mean, my angels, I just want to say, like, I probably only, not even half the angels I had last year this year
I was going to say,
have
do you
been
have,
in touch.
yeah, like how many of the volunteers that you once had to support this program, how are you managing to put all of this together when we know that people are not volunteering the way they used to?
Well, volunteers I have, it's
It's
gifts
the
and
angels.
goods that I don't have. So,
Of course, understood. Yeah, yeah.
We have an amazing team at our office, all perfectly willing to come in, although this past week has been a challenge around the snow. And yeah, that's really not the issue. Although, I had an angel who knew we were in need of blankets, and she brought in, I don't know, maybe 20.
Yeah.
Just the other day, brought them into the office. It's just incredible. Like, the people that can give are going so above and beyond.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
absolutely incredible. I you can't fault them. It's just there's so few. But again, I can't even fault those that aren't able to help, because generally over the years, most of them have been so amazing and so generous and so kind. Plus, we've had a lot of people leave the area.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
The cost of living here is incredibly high. I think there's a lot of places you can live that aren't this high. And in spite of this week's weather, generally we have nicer weather, but it's not as much of a draw for people who need to pay rent and need to manage and have families and need jobs.
The housing crisis is really affecting us right now too. There's just, even if people are willing to stay, there's not a lot of places that people can rent at this time. Things are being built for sure, all of that stuff, but the cost for housing is going to be very high for a lot of people. A lot of older adults are downsizing, and they're trying to sell their properties so that they can find new lives in independent living facilities as well. But there's so many dynamics going on this particular Christmas that makes it harder for people. I'm curious though, like, if somebody wants to participate in some way, like, what would you like to tell the community for what they can do to help support you? What does it look like to support Angels, the Angel Network?
Well, the common items, there's a lot of requests for very common items like towels and sheets and blankets. Again, lots of people asking for food. Household items are huge on the wish list, but really for kids, it's hard. Boots, coats.
Yeah. So we're back to the fundamental pieces.
We're back to needs. I mean, I have lots of Barbies and lots of princesses and lots of Lego, but you can't eat it and it won't keep you warm. So
that's right. That's right. And people, we need to look at the whole family dynamic in this way and make sure that we're able to support where we can. So how do people, we talked about the vetting process a little bit earlier. So how about we talk about how agencies support you, and what does it mean to have an agency referral?
So, because obviously we wouldn't have the time all throughout the year to be able to vet anyone that we're supporting. We work with a whole bunch of agencies, different agencies. We work with different school counselors, and that's pretty much agencies, school counselors. I'm not going to list them because I don't want to have them inundated
of course.
either.
No, of course.
And so they would be working with the family. So they actually know that there's a need, what the need is, what the family dynamics are. And most of these people I have worked with for several years, you know, they change every year, one or two, but basically it's the
Overall,
same
yeah.
people. Overall, it's the same people. So I have to trust that that's the situation. I mean,
Yeah.
I cannot follow up on everyone. I would be a liar if I said, you know, one or two didn't squeak through. But, you know, if we can help 8 families and 2 weren't maybe as needy, then I helped 8 families and I just have to swallow it and move on. I don't want to
But I
not.
think people are really good, though, that as far as that vetting process is concerned, I think the agencies are very good in recommending and referring. So, you know, Joe just can't, you know, Joe family can't just call you up and say, hi, Rita, I heard you on CHLY and, you know, I want to be one of those families. That's not how it works, right?
Absolutely not.
It has to go through a certified or, you know, nonprofit agency that we have in our community. And like you, I'm not going to name any of them off, but there are a number of opportunities that happens through, and certainly through the school system. You know, if a teacher or a counselor in school knows that there's a family, and there's one kid almost in every single classroom. Like there just is. And I used to be that kid, so I know that to be true, right? If it wasn't, it's a little bit different for me now, in the sense that, you know, I certainly, when I was growing up, we didn't have Angel Network, but we had a network of angels. So when I was a kid, I mean, thank God for the fire department, thank God for Salvation Army, thank God for, at the time, CKNW radio. They were the people that came to my door and looked out for us. And our needs were, you know, single mother, 3 kids, you know, I got my very first toy came from the Sally Ann. Right. So, and the fire department. So I know the impact of the families. I've lived it. I've got lived experience, and I'm a walking billboard and testament to it. People are better growing up when people treat people as though they matter. And so when you're dealing with a family that's already going through some socioeconomic issues, they're already feeling that pain associated with the holidays coming and moms and dads going, how am I going to take care of my kids? How am I going to support them? Our values, you know, they can teach all the values in the world, but a child looks at a Christmas tree and says, why didn't Santa come down my chimney? And if I didn't have a chimney, why didn't he come in my window? And so from being a 5-year-old kid and looking at that tree and feeling that in a way that is still with me at 60, I turned 60 this year. And I cannot tell you how year after year after year, I am grateful for angels. And I haven't received that now in years, right? I put it back out there in different ways. Right? Most of the people that experience this pay it forward in some way or another. They remember. I just feel it's so important that people can help a child get through this period of life. And when things are dark and things are difficult, especially as they've been in the last 3 years for families, you know, how can we do something so loving to just let people understand that they matter? So thank you for doing this program.
Not a problem. And you know, I went through the same thing as you did. My dad died when I was quite young and left my mom with 4 kids and no job skills, because back then,
yeah, women didn't work very much.
Mom stayed home, right? Mom stayed home, looked after kids. I mean, she didn't drive. It was a very different time and a different. We were just talking the other day about, you know, having grown up on welfare, not for many years because, you know, we were lucky that way. But I remember being on welfare, and welfare then is not the same as what social assistance is now. Of course, the stigma is not as tough as it was back then, but they didn't send you any money. You had to go to the office. You brought your bills. They paid the bills, the hydro, the gas, whatever you needed, the heat, the rent or whatever. And they gave you a check. And I can still remember the check. I was 11 I can still remember the check of $25.04 for a week's groceries for my mom and 4 children. And we had to walk back up there the next week, you know, get the same check to be able to go shopping, which, you know, I mean, allowing for inflation, it probably wasn't that little, but it's very, very different. There was nowhere to go, you know, there wasn't like a food bank back then. There wasn't, there just wasn't a lot. There weren't a lot of options, and welfare really was welfare. It's not, you know, like it is now. Now it's, you know, it's
Well,
very
it's worse
common.
now.
It's very common.
It's common for people to get welfare to a certain extent. You're right, though, about the stigma. It's much, much different. You know, growing up on welfare myself, I remember that check very well. I remember the buggy that we took down to the Safeway store, you know, for our limited quantities of, you know, Kraft dinner and hash browns. You know, I remember it very, very well, like you. That was my experience. And social assistance has evolved and it's changed. It's way worse now, I think, for families than it was at the time that we were growing up, and it was bad for us. I think it's worse now, and that's my own opinion. It's not the opinion of the station or, you know, of our communities or anywhere else. It's just my own visuals and sight and all of that. And nobody wants to be on welfare either. And I think that there's that stigma that goes with, oh, well, you know, in the old days, they would say, well, you just have a bunch more kids and you can get some more welfare, right? That's people who were on welfare didn't think that way, right? There was that group of maybe the odd person that did, but it certainly wasn't the label for most, right? It wasn't, you didn't desire to be the kid on welfare, let's put it that way. And so I think that, you know, there's a lot of people that are having to face welfare now because of the last few years. And certainly we didn't have things like CERB or, you know, any of those kinds of, like, when I heard the CERB being up to $2,000, I was like, oh my God, I think we got like $160 for 4 kids and mom. And, you know, I mean, like, I can't even, you know, fathom that. It was just very, very different. But what isn't different, and that's what we're talking about today, is what it feels like to be a kid, right? That hasn't changed. Children don't understand. They don't have that ability to understand. They only know that they're cold. They only know that they're hungry. They only know that, you know, when the kids go back to grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 5, and the teacher says, how was your Christmas? And you have to write that little report that says, well, Santa brought me an Xbox and a this and a this. And then you have that other kid that goes, well, Santa didn't come to my house, right? There's something to be said for just that feeling alone of being a participant in community. And Angel Network has been able to do that for 14 years. For 14 years, hundreds of families in our community have gone to school the day January 3rd and been able to say, I got something for Christmas this year. And there's nothing more wonderful than seeing a child's eyes light up on Christmas morning, knowing that somebody cared enough to put something under a tree for them.
And it's not just the little ones, Cathy. I hope,
It's
you know,
true.
we have to look at the importance, and almost harder is our vulnerable youth.
Absolutely.
Because these are young adults, older children, young adults, still children in my eye.
Yeah, yours and mine too, but you're quite right. They're not.
They're not. They're not babies, and I, you know, I know they're not all cute and cuddly.
No, they're not.
But the impact of some small gesture for a youth that's, you know, possibly living in a group home or is just in a really bad situation where there isn't any kind of support forthcoming. I know we've talked about it where I've had people ask me, you know, what can we do? We can't afford to do a lot. What can we do? And I always say, well, if you would like to help out with our youth, you know, if you could bring me some $10 subway cards. And they just don't, they can't understand why that kind of thing would make any kind of a difference. And let me explain that difference to you, because for me, the child who's with his friends at high school every day, whose friends go to Subway every day or wherever, to Hortons, McDonald's, whatever they do, whatever's close to school, I guess. And, you know, their friends are always buying lunch because they get a $50, $100 allowance. And this poor kid is, oh, well, not poor, I shouldn't say that, because, you know, these they're great kids, you know, pulls out a granola bar and sits in the booth, you know, with his granola bar. And to be able to have given him, you know, a couple of gift cards to go for lunch, the pride around being able to be one of the guys, to be able to say, you know, hey, I got a new sweatshirt and it wasn't used.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about having to be high-end stuff, but we're talking about feeling feeling like you're one of the norm, as opposed to someone who's always on the outside looking in. And
Yeah.
these make such a huge impact. A lot of these children, you know, up to 19 or, you know, thereabouts, these children feel they've been abandoned. They feel nobody cares. They don't necessarily even want to go to school every day because they're always the one on the outside, right? Because here's
Yeah.
somebody who cares enough. You know, I was talking to the worker that works with us with our youth, and she's actually on our board, you know her. She said to me this year, when we were talking about it, she said, you know what the kids loved the most last year? The Christmas stockings. Because I think Christmas stockings are, I mean, I remember Christmas stockings when I was a child, and that was a number of years ago. And back then, my Christmas stocking might have a tangerine and some chocolates and different things like that.
Absolutely.
Our stockings, as my children grew up, were a little bit more interesting, to say the least. But they just loved the stockings. And those stockings didn't have to have a lot of stuff in them, but it just meant that someone had gone out of their way to pick out, especially for them, two bottles of nail polish for a girl, you know, a Tim Horton card, or little packets of hot chocolate that they could have in their room, like something a little bit better, or they're always happy to get a toothbrush and toothpaste, and we were fortunate enough this year we got a case of toothpaste, a case of floss. Everybody's getting that this year.
Fantastic.
But it's just amazing that she would say that. And you know, like, not that they have big asks, they don't, but the idea that that is their favorite part of, you know, aside from getting the blanket that they need, aside from getting the runners or the boots or the, you know, one warm item of clothing that they need, that the little child in this probably appearing to be hardened youth, who's been hardened by the hand they've been dealt, and they get a stocking and they're all giddy, and, you know,
I'm sorry, it still goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's the Santa Claus thing. It's that somebody has remembered that child, that person. They're seen, they're not invisible. And I think that, I mean, I have to tell you, my favorite thing getting as a child was also a stocking, because we didn't have anything, right? We had the orange, the Chinese orange in it, you know, the soft mandarins. We all got little boxes every year for many, many years. You used to be able to buy these pot of gold that had like 4 chocolates, a pot of gold. We get a pot of gold, and we got nail polish. My first nail polish was Q-Tex, right? It used to be like $1 a bottle or $2 a bottle. Still the best nail polish I've ever used in my life, I might add. But nonetheless, those tiny little pieces, you know, there was something about opening each piece out one by one and looking and inspecting and playing, and a very tactile experience for people. And I think we need to remember that, you know, and even now at our ages, Rita, we're still kids at heart. I don't know about you, but I still like being remembered at Christmas time. So I want to bring up the fact that seniors as well are often on this list. You know, very often their families live very far away. Very often they don't have close relationships with their families. And so older adults shouldn't be forgotten either. I mean, no one should ever be forgotten anyway. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not you're trying to pick and choose one age over another. I'm just saying that we don't necessarily think about the older adult either.
Oh, we do.
I know, I
And
know.
that's
why I'm saying it.
another sector that's
Huge
just
sector.
skyrocketed this year.
Yeah. And what kind
And
of things
men,
are older adults asking for right now? Men and women as older adults, what seems to be high on the list? Is it also blankets and slippers and things
well,
like
we did
that?
blanket
Or
slippers. So many this year. It was around food, non-perishable food items, which just, to me, is almost heart crushing. It really is,
yeah,
to see that somebody who's been through their whole life, and you don't know their stories, that's fine, but to be thinking that, hey, here's your chance, what would you like for Christmas? And they're saying food? Well, no, what would you like for Christmas? How about a new umbrella? How about, we get requests for things like puzzle book,
yeah.
the large print word search books, sometimes some adult coloring, some puzzles, definitely warm socks, definitely, some bathrobes, blankets, things like that. But honestly, we had one gentleman who asked for like snacks, peanuts, barbecue potato chips, just different weird things.
How sweet is that?
But it's sweet, but when you see that, my heart just breaks a little bit, because I think, well, you go to the grocery store, don't you?
Yeah, but you're
But there's no
choosing.
money for barbecue potato chips, and certainly not for nuts, because
No,
those
not the
are
cost of nuts these
off the
days.
charts.
Mm,
But
so
to
true.
have somebody ask for that, one part of you, just like you said, isn't that cute, and the other part is, wow, you have to wait once a year to have a bag of chips? Like, let me write down your address so I can drop one off a week. Like, seriously, it's a bag of chips. Like,
I know, but we take those things for granted though, Rita. That's the issue. And I think that's what's so important, is that people now, we're having to really, people are taking a second look to say, wait a second. We're going to take a quick moment here and do a little station identification, Rita, and then I'll be right back to talk with you. Hey, folks, if you have just tuned in, I'm super delighted that you have. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you at CHLY 101.7 FM. I appreciate you on the show Act 3, not only in this forum, but also when you watch Shaw Spotlight and when you listen to us on YouTube. So thanks so much for following Act 3 on CHLY. I always try to bring the best out of community by sharing these stories. But what I also know is that while we're giving to community, we also have to look after our own backyards. And one of the backyards that could use a little extra support is CHLY 101.7. As everyone else has experienced the cutbacks, so have we here. So we are also in the middle of doing a little bit of a fundraising. So what I'm asking you to do, if you can think about it for the new year, is if you've got $5, only $5, and you can commit $5 a month, why not think about putting that $5 a month to CHLY 101.7 FM? I know that there are a lot of charities, including the one we're talking about today, that can use your support. And so we don't want to cut into any of that stuff either. We do recognize there's a lot of people with their hands out right now at a time that we all need a little extra support. But if you can find it in your heart to add us to your Christmas list, we'd be grateful as well. Today on my program on Act 3 CHLY 101.7 is one of my favorite people. She gives so much to this community year after year after year, as does everyone at Volunteer Nanaimo. But Rita's heart is in Angels Network, and she's been doing this now for 14 years in our community. She has, along with her angels and many of the members of our community, really supported the invisible. And I thank her deeply for that. And I'm always delighted when she comes and shares this. So please, if you haven't already grabbed a piece of paper and a pen, you're going to want to write down anything you can about how to contribute, how to support, and maybe even how to volunteer as an angel or a volunteer in another capacity with Volunteer Nanaimo. Please, please, please grab that piece of paper right now. When we come back a little bit later on, I'll make sure that we have that information available for you. And of course, if you are watching us on YouTube, we do ask that you like and subscribe so we can also continue to share this information out to the universe and beyond. So with that, I bring back my guest, Rita Innamorati. I love saying her name every time I bring her on. I tell her the same thing. It flows off my tongue so well. Welcome back, my friend. Thank you for doing this. You have no idea how delighted I am. It's my favorite time of the year is when I get to talk to you. I get to talk to you all year long anyway, but this time when we're specifically talking about the Angel program, my heart just soars. I'm just so grateful for you and for what you do to this community and all the support that you and the Angels and everybody who gets involved is able to do. When we sort of went just before the break, we were talking a little bit about some of the things that people can offer up to remember the small child, to remember the teenager, to remember the older adult, to remember everyone in community. And I want to go back to, if it's okay with you, do you like, I'm sure you get a lot of feedback from families. We talked about our own experience in the, early part of the hour. What kinds of things do you hear back from community when they receive these items?
Well, so first of all, you have to recognize that this is a completely anonymous program. We don't always have even all the information on the families. We only get what we're told, basically. And
there's a lot of trust though that they do because they're vetted, that they come
they
out
are
of the
vetted,
agency.
and it's not just that, it's a safety issue between angels and families. We try to protect both sides, because you just don't know who they are. People, we don't know who our angels are necessarily. I mean, I've had angels have been the same angels have been coming for year after year after year. So, I mean, I know them even if I see them on the street. But, every year we get new angels, for which I am so grateful, because many of our angels have even moved away. And, but with families, I mean, we have to set boundaries with the families, with the angels. And we just, you just have to be so careful in this society. And it's not to put anything on either side of that equation. It's just that we just don't know. There's no way for me to protect either side. And
the confidentiality factor is actually an element of this that makes it even more special. It's not like Santa actually knew every single, I mean, he knew it was naughty and nice, right? But I don't think that that the community needs to necessarily know that. I think that there's something to be said for the anonymity of it all.
And there's many reasons for that. And people, I think one of the things that people forget as well is you will sit there, like we get these angels and there's families, sometimes a mom and dad, sometimes a single dad, sometimes a single mom, sometimes it's a grandparent raising children, which they don't get a lot of funding for. So they're managing on their pension and whatever. When you try to put yourself, which is what I do, I try to put myself in the position of this man who's maybe worked all his life, and because of COVID, because of illness, because of an accident, because someone in the family has had an illness or some kind of tragedy within the family dynamic or extended family dynamic, finds themselves in a position of having to ask for help. That is not always easy.
Absolutely.
There is a challenge there as well. Excuse me, we have had some families that are referred very late because they've fallen through the cracks, not because anyone's really missed it, but because there's still that, I don't think it's a stigma, but maybe you can help me, Cathy, where men have to take care of their families, or a very strong woman takes care of her family and doesn't go looking for help.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We do have angels that say, geez, why can't we deliver to the family? Why can't we do this, or different things like that? There's, it's embarrassing enough for them to have to go to their worker or their social worker or their school counselor, their children's school counselor, to say, look, I could really use a hand up this year, just a helping hand, get through the year. This would be so helpful. Then to have to accept charity at their home from someone who's doing that is, probably stops people from even going there.
Yeah.
Just like I know people that don't go to the food bank because they don't want anyone to know they're going to the food bank.
Yeah.
And, that's why it's there. That's why we are here. You know, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't want to do it. People don't give to the food bank because they're resentful. People are giving to the food bank because they want to share the bounty. We do this because we want kids to wake up and have and see 2 or 3 presents under the tree. We want this for our families. We want dad, who's always been, or mom, my mom was a single mom, I was a single mom. We want that person to be able to just bask a little in the glow of their excited children who maybe have an idea that mom is Santa or dad is Santa, but to not have to be there on Christmas morning when your children are there and it's like, you know, Santa doesn't love us. No, it's not like that. And let them take the credit. Who cares? I have many angels that say, I'll bring wrapping paper, so let's just give it to mom and dad to wrap, or mom to wrap, or dad to wrap, so they can put whatever they want on it. And generally we don't do that, but you know, occasionally we can. We wrap everything before it goes so that there's no temptation around anything else. But you know, there's something to be said for, yes, it is about the kids. Yes, it is about the youth. Yes, it is about the senior. We do a lot of senior bags right at the end with whatever we have left, so that for seniors who aren't necessarily sponsored or weren't looking for sponsorship because for whatever reason, but when they get up on Christmas morning, there's a little gift bag hanging on their door with just a few little things just to bring a smile, because that's really all what this is about. We do get a lot of thank yous from a lot of them, and they're again anonymous. If they sign their names, we block the name out. All the angels get a scanned copy of the thank yous. I think last year we had like, I don't know, 300, 250. So I scan them all and send them in an email to all the angels so they can scroll through them. And you know, so often you see, my children wouldn't have had Christmas without you. Thank you so much. You know, my kids were so excited. It was just so, you know, many parents don't ask for anything. Many parents. We have dads, you know, like a single dad who will write, I'm just grateful to have my children this year. Or please just make Christmas great for my kids. I mean, you know, not everyone wants for themselves. Many people want for someone else. And we contacted one family for some information, and it was like, you know what, I think we're going to be okay this year. There's probably families that need it more. And it makes you want to help, it makes you want to just do it for them anyway, because they're so giving, because you know from a counselor or a teacher or something that they're struggling, but they still, you know, and again, I think part of that goes back to the pride, goes back to not wanting to take, because, you know, basically you and I grew up in that generation, that society where you know, and even if you did have to take, or even if you did have to do whatever, it sure wasn't advertised. You know, you kept it as much a secret as you possibly could.
Absolutely. And you know, I think that there is it's that shame-based piece, right? And the good news is I think that I think the culture today has changed that a little bit compared to when we were young, but I still see the same thing, that mom or dad, the strength in the families. You know, we don't advertise this. We don't want to share this piece of our life, you know, that what stays behind closed doors belongs behind closed doors. And at the end of the day, like you said, it's very hard for people. It's very humbling for people to ask for help. And sometimes it really takes a push from people like you and I to say, listen, we've been on the other end of it, and we're grateful that you are asking for that help today, because it gives us a privilege. It's a privilege to give back to community. Every day and always. It's a privilege to be in a position where we can share, and people forget that privilege, right? That there's something when people don't ask for help and they need it, you're taking, I'm sorry to say this, but I think in a way, people are taking away that opportunity for somebody to have the opportunity to give. right? There's something really meaningful about somebody saying, I could use your help, because most people, if you ask somebody to help, most people will say yes in whatever capacity they can. Most people will say yes, but we have to be in a culture once again where it's acceptable to say, I need some help. And I think we're getting there, but it's because it's becoming so commonplace, especially in the last couple of years. People are having to learn, well, if I don't ask for help, this situation can only get worse. Let's see if we can avoid that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And every angel is valued, believe me. I mean,
Oh,
I know
yes.
people think that I'm a little bit off anyway. Just just from day to day, they think I'm a little bit that way. But if
But you're
somebody
cute.
came,
You're so cute. That's
they
why.
do,
You're
they
just so
do.
cute.
I
You're so cute.
they do. But somebody comes in with a small bag with a few bottles of shampoo, or like I said, $10 gift cards for lunch or something like that. I get so excited, and I think they're thinking that I'm being disingenuous, but I'm not. I'm really excited because that may be the one missing piece for my stocking that I need. It might be the one missing piece. I have people that actually just ask for shampoo and conditioner. Like I actually
Absolutely.
have.
It's surprise. It's funny that you should say that, because you and I have been doing these interviews at Christmas time now for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years anyway. At their earliest, probably longer, right? Probably more.
Longer.
Yeah, longer. It's been a long time. And the first interview we did was with Shaw Spotlight. It was my first time meeting you, and I was like, oh my God, I love her, which I do, but that's besides the point. There is something wonderful about people understanding it's the little things, it's not the big things. And if everybody can help with a little thing, then those little things do become the big things, right? It's the same, people are amazed that a shampoo would be something that somebody would want for Christmas. But if you're a teenager or an older adult and you're having to make some decisions financially about the roof over your head, or having something so simple as a razor, you know what I mean? Like, I've known many homeless people in my day. I've supported many as I know how to. But one of the things that struck me was the bar of soap, right? The bottle of shampoo, as you said, the toothbrush and the toothpaste, the essential things. Razors are so expensive. If you need to go and buy a razor as a man, or for a teenager now, it's like $20 for just the razor and one blade, let alone the refills for all of that stuff. They're like 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, and they're behind the counter now. I'm not suggesting that we go and all suddenly everybody goes out and buys a razor, but it's those everyday essentials consumables that we don't even think about, because we're, most of the time we have an abundance of them in our home. But for somebody who might not have so much, it really is a big deal. Socks, there was always the joy between socks and underwear, right? And I've always said, as a child, I hated receiving socks and underwear. I hated it, right? My auntie always sent socks and underwear. Well, I didn't understand until my son was growing up why socks and underwear were always the present, right? It's because socks and underwear just on their own are expensive. And so having something new to start the new year on that don't have holes in it, there's something wonderful about that.
And being able to throw out the ones with the holes because you actually have something else to wear.
Exactly. And something for our warm tushies. Speaking of warm tushies, part of the Christmas season is those toasty little things that we all take for granted as well, like hot chocolate, right? Like, again, as you said, it's not necessarily the meals, but maybe that gift certificate. It was a few years ago, you actually taught me that. And I remembered that, right? When we talked about the Subway gift cards a few years ago in one of our interviews, you had introduced me to that concept. And for the life of me, when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? Because it's true. I remember being the teenager in school and all my friends would go and somebody was always buying me lunch, always. And I always felt like, again, it was like charity. It was like I could never give it back to them. But then when you reminded me about that gift card, I was reminded that somebody had done that once for me. And I remember being able to go into a restaurant, like a McDonald's or what have you. And at the time that I received it, it was free ice cream cones. You used to get those certificates for free ice cream cones from McDonald's. Somebody gave me a bunch of those and I could suddenly take my friends out for an ice cream cone. Now, as silly as that was, they'd been buying me lunches for ages, right? Or apples out of the apple machine. They would buy me an apple. When you're a young kid, it's like you do want to give back as well. I would love to have been able to have gotten a Subway gift card so I could have bought my friends a sandwich after all the sandwiches that they bought me. Right? So the pride is twofold. As the giver, as the receiver, that person learns how, when they receive the tools, they learn how to be kind to others. And really,
Absolutely.
that's what this is all about, isn't it? Like Christmas is more, Christmas Angels happens all year round. This is, even though we're talking about it now, because it's the holiday season, the Angel Network is a 365-day a year endeavor. When you know that somebody in community needs something, you do it in February, you do it in July. It's not just set out for Christmas time. So I do want to make sure that people understand that this isn't just a one-off kind of thing.
No, that's true. And we have Angel Network crafters who make blankets. They make quilts and blankets. Many we give out at Christmas, but we do it again, like you said, throughout the year. That's happening. Certainly if someone calls me, and I get a lot of calls more now from agencies, not so much from individuals, because often they don't know where it's coming from. Because if a social worker calls and says, we're moving this person and they have nothing, can you get me something? And I instantly go to my computer and send out a call out to my angels, because they are there all year round, and say, I need some towels, I need some this, I need that, whatever. The stuff comes to me, I give it to the social worker or to whomever it is that's been asking. So I'm going to say 99% of the time, they don't even know it's coming from Volunteer Nanaimo or from Christmas Angels or from the Angel Network, because it's Angel Network and then Christmas Angels is a part of that. The crafters are part of that. So, I mean, they don't necessarily know that's even where it's coming from. And we don't need for them to know that's where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah,
don't
so it's not like
that.
it's not like there's a pat on the back that is being looked for in this
Absolutely
conversation. Not at all.
Absolutely not. And I think too, like people always say, like, oh, you do such an amazing job. Believe me, if it was just me by myself, first of all, I'm not the best rapper in the world, but I'd still be working.
You and me both.
Working on my second family if it was just up to me. I just have the most amazing team that supports me, starting with my board and working on down, because without them, first of all, I wouldn't be allowed to do this. It would be a challenge right around that. Volunteer Nanaimo is a charitable organization. So when people don't have time and are able to make a donation and get a tax receipt, that makes it just a little easier pill to swallow, I think, for many. But many just want to shop. I have people in here all the time saying, oh, we decided not to give each other gifts this year. We're going to buy for a family, because really we have so much stuff. Like people who are downsizing, like you say, they're downsizing, or they just have too much stuff. I just had this conversation with my daughter who's in Ontario saying, I just don't know what to send you for Christmas. Please, for the love of all that is good, do not send me anything. She said, well, maybe I'll make a donation to Volunteer Nanaimo Christmas Angels for your Christmas present. And I'm like, if that's what you want to do, hurrah. Because I get to shop and I don't have to have it in the house. So
there you go. Hey, I like that idea a lot.
I mean, it covers all the things I love. It covers the fact that I love to go shopping for my families here, or individuals, or my seniors. I love to do it. As a matter of fact, it's very hard to take that out of my hands. I love to do it, although I did share that with someone else this week. And I know that she probably loved it just as much as I do, but it's one of the things I'm very selfish about because I really, really love that part
I
of it.
know, but me
But
too. I love
so
that
here's
too.
my
Yeah.
daughter giving me, for me, the perfect gift.
Yes.
The opportunity that while she's doing that for me, she allows me to do something for someone else, and everybody wins. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a winner with that. I really, I do not need more stuff in my house. I have been spending, you know, months and well, since COVID started, the whole thing was around getting rid of stuff, and I'm still not there yet after 2 years, or coming up 3 years now. Can
Well,
you
you know,
believe it?
I've heard a lot of people that have been able to do that. I worked through the whole time. I didn't even notice. I've worked at home for so many years now. I didn't even notice that COVID came and went as far as it went for taking the time to eliminate stuff. But like you, the greatest gift ever is when you can give to somebody else. And so, you know, if it works out that people will call Volunteer Nanaimo and make that donation in honor of a family member, absolutely, which is really a great segue to how do people get these gifts to you? How do people reach you for Christmas Angels?
Well, they can call the office, first of all. That's the quickest, is to call, and that's at 250-758-7121. They can email to vnanaimo@gmail.com. That's V for volunteer. So it's just vnanaimo@gmail.com. I tried to come up with the easiest email address
That
I
is
could
pretty
possibly.
easy.
That's pretty easy. If you drop by the office, which is on Barron's Road, we have a square, so you can debit, you can use your credit card, you can just drop by the office, we'll take your information. I'm happy to issue your tax receipt for that. Not at that time, but you will get it at the beginning of the year when this
Absolutely.
is all over.
For sure.
Or you can e-transfer to the same email address that goes directly into the Angel account. And or you can, you know, do something really retro and write a check. That's still fun.
Do
Apparently
people
still
do
have
that?
them. People still have checks,
Yes, yes.
right?
You bet.
People still have checks, but we have this year, we just did it this summer. We went modern and got a square so that people could actually, you know, tap and pay, because a lot of people come to different events and it's like, well, I don't have any cash. Well, yeah, that's sort of the reality.
Most people aren't carrying the cash anymore or checks anymore. So yeah, certainly having a mechanical financial device makes all the sense in the world. Listen, I'm running out of time here. I hate that I'm running out of time already. I can't believe our time is going around so fast. I know my eyes are already crossed. So listen, so I don't get in trouble, because I know I'm gonna if I go over. I love my team here at CHLY 101.7. If you've just tuned in, by the way, you've tuned into the end of the program, but that's okay. We're on again next week, and we're on again every Monday at 1 o'clock. And also you can find us on YouTube. So make sure you like and subscribe so we can keep on bringing those to you. At the end of my program, of course, I always love to have that wisdom piece, my friend. So you have about 30 seconds or less to give me your piece of wisdom for the rest of 2022. And you know, just your overall thoughts. The piece of wisdom for the day. What have we got?
There's a lot of joy in giving. You don't have to give a lot. Any little bit helps. And it's not just about Christmas. It's not just about Christmas Angels. It's all the time. And if I can say and just reiterate something that Cathy mentioned, support CHLY. Like she said, it's $5 a month. I mean, that doesn't even get you a coffee at Starbucks. Let me tell you, I know. So you know, and that goes for everything. That $5 a month to be able to have such an amazing facility such as this one, and to have this platform, you know, definitely worth $5 a month. I'll be signing up myself.
Thank you, my friend.
And anything that you want to bring by, a coloring book, crayons, shampoo, deodorant. We didn't get a lot of deodorant this year. We could use some deodorant. We don't want people to smell. So that, Cathy, I can't thank you enough. It's always a joy and a privilege to share time with you. Thank
Back
you.
at you. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Rita. I'm just, everybody, we know what to do. You've all been given a call to action here. Volunteer Nanaimo. All you got to do is go vnanaimo@gmail.com, or even just Google it. Just Google Volunteer Nanaimo. All that good stuff's going to come up. Thank you so much, my darling. In the meantime, Merry Christmas, my friend. And to all of you who are listening today, there's lots of stuff to do before December the 25th. But remember, giving is a 365-day a year opportunity for us to be kind to each other. We'll see you next week on CHLY 101.7 and Act 3. Bye for now.